what do the stories that you have in your head about what this club was, how is that influencing this revival or 3.0 and what you're doing in 2026?
Uh, a lot of the history influences what we're doing now. So many people remember Cosmos, Pelé, 77, 78,
Yeah.
packed stadiums. But it had very humble origins. And what Clive Toy did as the general manager of the Cosmos in naming the team and coming up with the logo design and all the innovations he brought to the sport are commonplace now, like multiple jerseys.
Hello, welcome to the United Soccer Lounge. My name is Riley James. Today's show is one of revival. The New York Cosmos played in the NASL from 1968 to 1984, and then tried again in 2011 to 2017. And for whatever reason, despite names like Pelé and Beckenbauer and Cruyff on the back of those uniforms, they couldn't ever seem to have a consistent league to play in. But today, I'm interviewing two men who are charged with the task to bring back American soccer's most iconic club. CEO Erik Stover, a majority owner of the New York Cosmos, Baye Adofo-Wilson, join me on this very show to talk about the revival, the plan, the location, the execution, and the rebirth of the New York Cosmos. I could not be more thankful to the front office staff, to everyone who helped set this interview up, to both of these gentlemen for joining me. And I don't want to hold you up any longer. Thank you so much for watching our show. If you like us, the United Soccer Lounge on Goals.tv, subscribe to us there, or to Goals TV on YouTube, and you can catch every single one of these as they come out. That'll do it for us. Thank you so much. Please enjoy the interview. Please welcome to the show two gentlemen tasked with the revival of American soccer's most iconic club, CEO of the New York Cosmos, Erik Stover, a majority owner of the New York Cosmos, Baye Adofo-Wilson. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the show, and how are you?
Thanks for having
Thank you.
us.
It's absolutely amazing what you're doing, bringing back one of the most iconic clubs in the history of American soccer. You go and ask people in Europe, what do you think about when you think of American soccer clubs? They'll say the Galaxy, they'll say LAFC, but a lot of them will slip in the New York Cosmos, and they have not played on a consistent basis since the 1900s. It's amazing what you were able to do with USL and bring this club back. We have plenty to talk about, but I don't want to waste any time. I do want to establish kind of a timeline for both of you, and Baye, you can start this first. What were the relationships that you guys had with the New York Cosmos before you took a leadership position within this club?
That's probably the question Eric should answer. But essentially, the relationship was really with Eric. Eric and I worked together on the restoration of Hinchliffe Stadium. Hinchliffe Stadium is an old Negro League baseball stadium built in the 1930s, and it had closed in 1997. We started to the renovations in 2021. I think Eric came on in 2021, 2022. And at that time, 3 years ago, we started planning for professional soccer. We looked at the demographics of Patterson, looked at the growth of soccer, looked at Eric's background, and said that we should plan. So we just made some design decisions around Hinchliffe Stadium that allowed for us to have the opportunity to have a professional soccer team. But it was always in the plans for at least the last 3 years that a professional soccer team would come. But the specific relationship is Eric's.
So, Erik, what is your relationship with the New York Cosmos before you took this role?
Yeah, so it does go back to when I first started in this business. I didn't really know much about soccer, but I was working at the Meadowlands Sports Complex, and that's where the Cosmos were at their peak. North Jersey, Meadowlands, East Rutherford, playing at Giant Stadium. And when I was working there, all the stories that the people that were there before me wanted to talk about were the Cosmos. Wasn't the Giants or the Jets. It wasn't Bruce Springsteen. It was always the Cosmos stories. And so I started to learn more about the history. I didn't really know a whole lot about it. Um, fast forward many years and had the opportunity after leaving Red Bull New York to go to the Cosmos in the relaunch of the club. And some people call it 2.0, but we were playing out in Long Island, and that's really as the COO of the Cosmos, where I really learned all the history, got to know Pelé and Carlos Alberto and Beckenbauer, and then be part of that revival and carry that mantle forward. It was an honor and a challenge, and we accomplished a lot. And then to have this opportunity to bring it back again, I really didn't imagine that things would unfold the way it did over the last couple of years.
And it's the really the buzziest story that we've had this year, especially in League One. People look at Portland Hearts of Pine and what they're doing, and that's a great story. But to welcome back a team with this much history, I mean, you just talked about the players that have played there, Pele and Beckenbauer and Alberto and Cruyff. What do the stories that you have in your head about what this club was, how is that influencing this revival or 3.0 and what you're doing in 2026?
Uh, a lot of the history influences what we're doing now. So many people remember Cosmos, Pelé, 77, 78,
Yeah.
packed stadiums. But it had very humble origins. And what Clive Toy did as the general manager of the Cosmos in naming the team and coming up with the logo design and all the innovations he brought to the sport are commonplace now, like multiple jerseys and different designs and different colors. Nobody was doing that in the 70s. But one thing I always think back to is the way he started the club was neighborhood by neighborhood. And you could do that in the New York metropolitan area. You've got the Brazilian neighborhood, you've got a Portuguese neighborhood, Spanish, Ecuadorian, Colombian, Scottish, Irish, you name it. And what he did successfully was bring a lot of those different neighborhoods in a little bit at a time. So the foundation was laid when Pelé came and then Beckenbauer came, that the neighborhoods and the communities were already supporting it. But instead of 500, it became 5,000. And then when you added up those 10 different groups of 5,000, now the stadium's packed. And so that is important for us. That's something that we are very focused on is being community oriented, one neighborhood at a time, one interaction at a time. That's definitely part of who we are right now.
And I understand this is a business, and Baye, this is where a lot of your expertise comes in on the business side. What have been the hurdles to get this project off the ground, get it approved by USL, and bring it to Hinchliffe Stadium 2026?
Well, the good thing of this is that we already had a stadium, so we already had a location for it. So it's not that it's a hurdle, but I think for a lot of clubs, the location of where the team plays is a hurdle, and I think that's the challenge of the sort of the largest challenge. Some of it's just the timeline of it. I think we started talking to USL maybe last year. The Cosmos as an opportunity probably happened this year. That was earlier. That probably all came together in about 6 months. And so we've been under sort of a tight timeline, but we really felt that it was important to have a team launch this year before the World Cup. And given how close Hinchliffe Stadium is to MetLife. And so it's really jumping through those hurdles in a shorter period of time. And then what we're doing now, so now we've sort of recently launched and we have, you know, 6 months to put a team on the field.
Yeah, it's quite the task that you guys are being asked to do, and it's
Yeah.
something we've seen on a couple different levels. You know, you have Naples that came in; they had to put together a roster very quickly. Sarasota, same thing, coming in next year with you guys. But the Cosmos brand probably is a very, very beneficial thing for you guys to be able to bring players in. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But you mentioned the World Cup, and there is going to be a pre-World Cup boom and then an explosion after they play that final in East Rutherford. So what are you guys preparing for from the business standpoint about how to be ready for an influx of interest in your club?
In terms, we're preparing to be ready for an influx of the club is on multiple levels. One, we're building a museum for the Cosmos. So our plan is to build a museum that we complete in 2027. And so we're in sort of fundraising mode now for that, but we are working on building a Cosmos museum. Two, we're gonna do some work with the FIFA Museum to make sure that it's when we work with them. The other thing that we're doing is we are launching this team now so we can do as many watch parties and interactions for kids. We really want to focus on the young people in the community and getting them engaged in soccer and getting them engaged in the World Cup. So we're going to have multiple watch parties during the World Cup so that we really build a base. We have clinics, we have concerts, but we really engage the community during the World Cup. So after the World Cup, people look at Hinchliffe Stadium not only as a place for former Negro League baseball, but also as a premier soccer venue.
Erik, I'll ask you a bit of a different question regarding this in the sporting sense. Obviously, you have experience on the executive level with Major League Soccer clubs, and you saw what World Cups do, even just abroad. But we're going to experience one here in the United States, and obviously, we talked about East Rutherford and MetLife Stadium hosting the final. But from the sporting side and from the executive standpoint, what do you expect the impact to be in the immediate sense when this World Cup does conclude and that first game post World Cup? Like, what are you anticipating this is going to look like for the Cosmos?
Honestly, um, a hangover. I've been around for a long time, and we've played games while the World Cup's been going on, and often there's a little bit of a wind in your sails, if you will. And the what I've also seen is there's so many games in a short amount of time, and people get a little burned out. To be honest, it creates lifelong fans, no doubt, and experiences that people will never forget. But come that last final game, people a little tired. So we have to be prepared as an organization and a front office that we're doing creative things to keep our attendance up and keep people coming back to the stadium.
Have those plans already been discussed about like how to keep people engaged after such a long summer? Because this is the biggest World Cup of all time. 48 teams, 104 games. Have those kind of been discussed already?
Yeah, we're talking about it on a league level now. We're looking at schedules and how things are going to come together. USL League One is exploding. We're going from 14 teams to 21 next season. So that's a new challenge. And then you're doing it in a very crowded calendar. So we're talking through all those things. For us at the Cosmos, Baye mentioned some of it. There's a lot of opportunity to capture new soccer fans, whether they're new soccer fans or they're soccer fans that they weren't necessarily aware that you were in their backyard.
Yeah.
So we'll do all kinds of things during the tournament to get eyeballs on us. And then as a front office, we have to do really creative marketing things. Think about how we schedule, when we're scheduling, what promotions and things we're doing to encourage people to come back and keep going and keep that soccer fever going forward.
But I want to go back to you in the location of the stadium. Obviously, it means a lot to you. You're from the area, and you wanted to bring a new life to Hinchcliffe Stadium and bring professional soccer to this community. The relationship between New York and New Jersey, they've shared sports teams forever. We've seen the Jets and the Giants play in New Jersey for a long time now. What is the relationship going to be on the Cosmos side, merging New York and New Jersey together as you guys begin playing Patterson?
Yeah, I grew up in Patterson. Our priority is really North Jersey in terms of like where the community that we're building in. Um, but the relationship and the international brand of New York and the fans that are from New York, we want to make sure that there's access, that they come to games, that we have merchandise, that we're working as one large family and in this geographical area. Um, the Hinchliffe Stadium, in essence, started as a stadium that was about New York and New Jersey. Not only are New York Cosmos playing in Hinchliffe Stadium, but we had the New York Black Yankees and the New York Cubans.
Yeah.
So we've had those teams before because, the issue of whether or not uh, New York has always been too expensive for stadiums. So it's the reason the Giants just play here, and the reason why the New York Black Yankees, New York Cubans played here. So we're gonna continue in terms of making the accessible venue. The train is not far away, about 13 miles from Manhattan. And so we just to make sure that we are marketing and we're providing access. So if people catch the train or they drive from New York City to Hinchliffe Stadium, we just make sure that the transportation works for them and that we are making it accessible for all.
And I'm already thinking from the rivalry standpoint, because that's where we are as journalists, is we think about how to make these games incredibly compelling before the ball's even kicked. You have Westchester, who's actually on the New York side, and I'm already picturing those arguments, and it's much like the Red Bulls in New York City FC and the New Jersey, New York, that thing. It's going to be really exciting. But I completely understand the New Jersey standpoint, right? It's cheaper to play there. The accessibility from New York to New Jersey is right there, and obviously it's a fantastic community that deserves to have sports that represents them and a larger international brand like you've mentioned with New York. So it's a fantastic place. Congratulations on getting that deal done. I've read the last couple of days how much that has meant to you. So it's got to be a fantastic thing for you and in that community. Erik, let's go back to you. You were a part of the New York Red Bulls, and you understand what a cultural shift bringing in a big time player does for Major League Soccer and the American soccer landscape. You were instigated, or a big part of the instigation of getting Thierry Henry to the Red Bulls. When you start kind of looking at 2026 and fielding a roster, what lessons from your time in Major League Soccer and understanding the cultural impact of such things will influence the front office's decisions as far as what players will wear this badge, considering the history of the players that have worn this badge?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and we have to stay very focused on our plan, both on and off the field. And our plan is centered on identifying the great young talent that we know is in North Jersey. Many of these players that just over the decades haven't had a chance to play, haven't had a chance to sign a pro contract. They haven't had a developmental opportunity. Um, for kids in cities like Clifton and Patterson and Newark and Jersey City, if you're not in the Red Bull system, you have no chance of playing, signing a professional contract, or a very limited chance. So we are definitely focusing on local talent. We also know that we need veterans to build out a quality team and to help the younger guys grow. I mean, it's balance across your roster is critical for any team in any league. So we're focused on that as well. But what's important is, as the Cosmos and being in the New York metropolitan area, you get a lot of opportunities that you're better off saying no to. And we need to stay focused on who we are and building our foundation and building the club slowly. That's why we started in League One. We're convinced that we'll have loads of talent that's playing really attractive soccer. Um, but we need to bring it along slowly, like we bring the club along slowly. And what USL is bringing to us is the opportunity to grow with it and grow through promotion and relegation, ultimately into championship. And who knows what the first division league is going to be called, and you never know, right? And then the power of the Cosmos really comes into play. But for right now, it's taking the lessons we learned through the history of the Cosmos, what I've learned personally, and sticking to our business plan and really going out and finding the local talent that we know is there.
And it's funny that you mentioned promotion relegation because it's such a massive part of the next couple of years of American soccer, and it's wild that through the history of the Cosmos they've never had this available to them, and now they do, and it's just a fusion of this Americana soccer culture with this new age post-World Cup reality of we're going to be a legitimate soccer country with a legitimate soccer system and real competitive leagues. Not to say Major League Soccer hasn't been that, but it doesn't mimic the rest of the world. And USL has been able to do that and bring that to life. So this is the last question. This is for both of you. I'll ask you first, Erik. You mentioned that like you want to make the New York Cosmos to bring back that power, to bring back that cultural force. You kind of answered it a little bit, but I want you to kind of hone in on what is the main thing that you guys are going to focus on to make this a cultural force once again as we go into 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, we talk about this every ends with community. There's historical precedent with the Cosmos that I already talked about. But all you have to do is look across the soccer landscape in the United States and you see really great examples of success. Yeah. In MLS, you've got something like a club like FC Cincinnati. 10 years ago, didn't exist.
Yeah.
Now in MLS, built its own stadium. It's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And that was largely community driven. Largely the supporters really stepping up and supporting their local club when it was third tier USL. The list is very long: Portland, Vermont Green, Detroit, Oakland, on and on and on. So we learn lessons from those as well, and we need to focus on that. We need to build our foundation. We need to bring our community in and give them a reason to support us and to come back.
Baye, from the ultimate leader standpoint, what is your main objective to make this a culturally relevant moment for the Cosmos to play soccer again?
Well, I think Erik answered a lot of it. Look, also want us to have a winning culture. I want us to sort of be competitive on the field. I believe in that in the community. I mean, this happened. This sort of a location for kids to play. One of the reasons I even got into this is because when we were growing up, we were always searching for places to play. There weren't many places for kids from Patterson to play, and we would go to other towns, try to play in their fields and play on their courts, and they would just take us. They would escort us out the town. And so, what I want to make sure is that we're accessible to the young people in and around the North Jersey. I want us to have a culture that is exciting and fun, and I want us to be able to train athletes. There's so many young people who are so talented, but they don't really have the access to facilities or people of the caliber of Giuseppe Rossi, my partner, and Erik and Jose Angulo, the scout, and the coach Davidad. So they don't really have access to those people. It's going to be exciting to see people from North Jersey with access to people with those resumes and the future athletes and the future stars that we will help to create.
Gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my soccer nerd heart for bringing back this brand, bringing back such a culturally significant club in the history of soccer in this country. And it's going to be amazing to see that first game in Paterson, New Jersey at Hinchliffe Stadium for the Cosmos to be back in a competitive league in the United States. So thank you from me personally, and I'm sure all of USL League One thanks you for bringing back such a great brand. And thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
What an incredible show. Thank you so much to Erik and Baye for joining the program. This is where they belong. They are joining League One at the bottom of the tier, and they intend to work their way up into the first division, a place where they should be. This iconic brand returning to pitches across the United States. But the way they're doing it is so endearing. And bringing soccer to New York, New Jersey is an incredible feat. So congratulations to them. I wish them all the best. I cannot wait to see the New York Cosmos next year, both pre and post World Cup. I know a lot of folks are excited about the World Cup in New York, New Jersey, but you should be excited about the New York Cosmos. What an incredible story. Thank you so much to both of them. Thank you so much to you for watching. If you like this show, you can get in touch with us on the internet. My name is Riley James, IAC on Instagram and X. The Instagram account for the show is available at USL on Goals. The parent committee is at goals.tv, on Instagram at goals_TV, on X, and many great creators making great content about the world of soccer, including the entire catalog of my shows available at www.goals.tv. That'll do it for us. Thank you so much to everyone with the New York Cosmos for allowing us to do this show. For Erik, for Baye, I'm Riley James. If anyone cares, we'll see you again next week.